Canine Specialist Marion Froome, and we're going to talk about environmentals today. Now, environmentals are really important when training your dog. And why are they so important, I hear you say? Well, I can tell you why. Alright, so firstly, I always have customers say, oh yeah, he can sit and he can down and he can do this trick and he can do that trick. But when I actually get them out and about and, around a few distractions, all of a sudden they're not sitting, they're not holding the sit, there's a distraction going on, they're getting up. I'm like, well, your dog actually doesn't understand to hold a sit. So it's really important, environmentals are really important in that way. And what I want to talk to you about first though is training zone versus failing zone. Alright, and so when you say my dog can sit at home, that's great, that's his training zone. When we sit in a high distraction environment, he might be really good 50 meters away. Okay, and that's still in the training zone, but he might be terrible at 30 meters. And that's a failing zone. So if your dog constantly gets up from a sit at 30 meters, like popping, not really listening, not even going into the sit, that's a failing zone. All right, and we don't work in the failing zone. So say your dog's good at 50 meters, but not good at 30 meters, you might work at 40 meters, right? So you might work at 40 meters where it's a little bit difficult for him to hold it, but he still listens, he still goes into the sit. So that's what I say, this is what I'm calling the training zone versus the failing zone. We don't work in the failing zone, all right? So be really aware of that. All right, so the next thing I want you to understand is that each of the 4 stages of learning must be done in each environment. Now, if you don't know what 4 stages of learning are, you've got to go back to my video. The first video that you need to watch, if you haven't watched any of my training videos, is the fundamentals of dog training. All right, that's a real basic, it's the complete understanding, and it's the first one that I give my clients before they do my course. The next one you need to do is the 4 stages of learning. Alright, and that will explain to you what your dog needs to get to before they're like 100% on a behaviour. Alright, we say 99% because they still, can have an off day. Alright, so that's a really well trained dog. How do you get your dog there? Then you can watch this video, which is what we're talking about now. So when I talk about environmentals, you need to understand that each of the 4 stages of learning need to be done in each and every environment. So the first environment I talk about is at home. Because a lot of dogs can work at home. It's a lot easier for them. So when we're training a behaviour, we start at home. Alright, so the next environment I talk about, and there's going to be 6, is out the front. This is out the front of your house. It's a little bit more in high-end distraction for them. It's a little bit more of a new environment. It's not used as much, so it's just that little step up. The next environment is up and down your street, right? So that is the next environment we're going to talk about. Then the next environment is a low distraction environment. And what I mean by that is you might be on an oval, and you've got dogs like right away, like probably like 300 meters away or something. You're at one end of the oval, there's no one there. That's a really low distraction environment. All right, then we go to a medium distraction environment. So it might be a high distraction environment where there's lots of dogs, but you can control the distance. So you can create a medium environment or lower distraction or higher distraction environment depending on the distance you are to it. So for example, where I live, we have somewhere called the Mandurah Foreshore, and I like to use the Mandurah Foreshore because there's a lot of dogs on leashes, so they're controlled. Right? And then across the road from the Mandurah Foreshore, is like blocks of land, vacant blocks of land, there's pathways or whatever. And you can actually go on there, so you're a certain distance from those on-leash dogs. All right? You might be able to get closer to that. Now, the other thing is with your environmentals, it's going to be different for every dog, right? What's higher distraction for one dog is low distraction for another, and you've got to work that out yourself. So I'm just giving you examples right now on what I think is, low, medium and high distraction environments, and that's generally how it works, but your dog's going to be different depending on how they are and what they find exciting. Alright, so the 6th and final environmental is a high distraction environment. Now I would say a high distraction environment is an environment where you have off-leash dogs. All right, anywhere where it's busy, you've got off-leash dogs running around, that's a high distraction environment, all right? That means your dog's going to sit or whatever, even if a dog runs up to him or whatever, he's just going to take that all in and in his stride and off he goes, all right? So they are the environmentals you need to work through, and you need to get all the stages of learning through each of those environmentals. And you'll find that when you teach your behaviour at home, if you train it well, and I give people very clear steps in my course, then you're going to find that they work through the environmentals quite quickly because they understand that have a very, very solid foundation in that command and in that position. All right? So I hope that's explained a little bit about environmentals. That's how you work your dog through. All right, please don't take your dog, if you're doing the course and you're teaching them to sit at home, you do not take them into a high distraction environment where they're going to fail that command and are not going to hold a sit, because that's not good for dog training and that does not explain it clearly to your dog. Your dog is going to fail constantly. We don't want the dog in the failing zone, we want them in the learning zone. So I hope that's really explained it. If you like this video, you can like it. If you want to get more content like this, you can subscribe, and I'll speak to you guys soon. See ya!